much for joining us on the Success Redefined series. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I am doing great. It's one of those days, when you're just like, nobody's stopping me. We're on this today.
Yes, I'm feeling that too.
Yes, I love it. So as we get started here, let's get to know you a little bit. So tell us what it is that you do and who you serve.
Okay, so I am a nutritionist, originally a sports nutritionist by trade. So I had grand plans that I would travel the world with a professional sports team and I would help athletes reach their goals. And as my business evolved, I just kind of realized that they were not my people. I don't come from an athletic background. I just kind of got interested in cycling and things like that. So I've shifted my business and now I generally work with women. Similar story to myself, have been through all of the fad diets, have tried every single option and just get so overwhelmed with all of the information that's out there that they just find it so hard to make a lasting change, get stuck in that diet cycle. Mm-hmm. So that's really what I help people with, breaking that cycle, getting some lasting change and really helping them dig into their sort of habits and mindset.
Yes, and I'm curious, so sports nutrition, was that something that you were into like high school, college, or kind of came a little bit later in life where it's like, oh, what's that? And just kind of exploring it a little bit?
Yeah, so it was, I have to say, I was the least sporty person at school. I used to not go in on sports day and go horse riding instead, which I never really saw as a sport. So I didn't have a sports background at all. But as I got older, so I did my undergraduate degree when I was 22. And then I worked for another 9 years after that in corporate IT, finance, a few different jobs. And then I got really into running and cycling. And then I knew like this passion inside of me would not let this nutritionist dream go. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to give it another shot. And this time I'm going to change the angle because I felt like there would be a real business opportunity within the sports world. So that's what led me to that path. But then once I was there, I realized actually there are other opportunities out there.
Yes. And I'm sure so many people listening to have fallen into that, like, oh, that's where the opportunity is. I can make money there. That's going to give me like this great stable career. And then you go into it and it's like, this doesn't feel the way I thought it would feel. Now what, right? Like, where do I go with that? And then when you started switching over, was that pivot difficult for you? Or was it a pretty easy, like, no, I'm just going to change the market and go all in there?
Yeah, I suppose even though, so my initial social media was all about promoting sports nutrition. And at the same time, in order to feel, I guess, more valid as a sports nutritionist, I decided to do a bikini fitness competition. So I wanted, in my mind, to put myself through the athletic process and go on stage and have that competition day because I felt like that would make me more valid. And through that experience, I actually learned an awful lot about myself and restrictive diets and binge eating and different things that I guess my message kind of changed without me really realizing it. And then I started to get more clients who were more aligned with weight loss. And it was a natural shift in one way. And then once I started to see that happening, it became more of a conscious shift. And there was a bit of crossover, but it was actually quite smooth. And I think that's because I was just more aligned with that.
And did you find, especially coming from competition, which is very strict, like there's a reason, it's like, it is a whole sport in itself of just getting ready for it. So when people were coming to you, were they looking for a lot of this, the set plan, or maybe coming from backgrounds where it's like, oh, if I ate chicken and broccoli every day, this would be it. This would work. This is what I need for weight loss. And you're like, guys, no, can we stop this?
Yeah. So I would initially, when I first set up, no matter what the client was, I would do like the very traditional, like university taught. You ask someone to keep a food diary, you analyze their diary, you write them a meal plan, and you send them off with their meal plan, and that should be them, which we all absolutely know, or hopefully we know now, that just doesn't work, because nobody really needs to be told what to do. They need help in the action part of it. So when people were first coming to me, especially off the back of the competition and things like that, yeah, it was very much like, can I have a meal plan? So I used that to create my first group program, where I called it the meal plan group. And anybody who requested a meal plan, I would add them to the group, and they would get a range of meal plans in different calorie amounts. And then through the group, I would try and help them change their habits. But I'm not really sure I was even conscious that that's what I was doing at the time. But when I look back, it was, here's a meal plan, but also here's the help that you need to go with that. And that was really successful for a while, but I ended it because I felt like it's not aligned with my values.
Yes. And we've talked a lot about that working together as far as just marketing of sell them what they want, give them what they need, which is what you were doing before. And sometimes, which I think just brings a great conversation, because I know a lot of people struggle with this, where here's like what you do, like surface level that's out there, but you know, it's so much bigger than that, that it almost feels like you're doing a disservice just talking about that. It's kind of like when I talk about courses, I'm like, wait, but how does it go with your whole business? And how do you feel? And how you, and it's like, what I do is so much more. So same thing with you. It's like, no, like food is important, right? And we're talking about your nutrition and your plan and all of that and tracking and those type of things. But like, we have to talk about why you even have the habits that you have and how you want to shift that and why it even matters to you. And did you find that, or still find, I should say, a gap within the industry as far as a lot of the, here's your plan, cookie cutter, everybody does this same plan regardless of your background and lifestyle and all of that?
Yeah, and that's what I really found, that there was a section of the industry where a lot of nutrition is done by personal trainers, who obviously have, like, personal training is their expertise and nutrition is the bolt on. So that was sort of a one way of doing things. And then you've got your registered dietitians who are very prescriptive in terms of they have to work within the guidelines of like the NHS if they're working there. And I just felt that there was this kind of area in the middle for somebody to not work with meal plans and not work with people with illnesses, for example, like a dietitian would, but just to help people in a much deeper way than things like Weight Watchers, Slimming World, you know, all of those like organized weight loss kind of things. And yeah, it's been the dream so far.
Yes. And I really love being able to see the people that attract to you and to your brand, because you are out living your life. Obviously, it's been less as far as travel and things like that, just as, you know, the thing that we're all navigating.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it is this, everything's a choice, right? So you can choose to have that certain food. Just know that like it may make you feel a certain way or it may do this, and that's okay. But beating yourself up is not going to work.
Yeah. And that's a big part of my message with my clients. I'm always encouraging them to say, you know, take control. Like you're no longer that child that has to clear your plate. You know, you are an adult, you can make choices now. Nobody's coming to take this away or say you can't have this. And it's working through those kind of like inbuilt things that when we're so busy in life, we go through our day, we rarely stop to think about it. We just eat as part of, it's a habit or it's a quick fix or it's an easy way to do something, because as you know, the brain is always looking for shortcuts. So it becomes just so habitual what we do with food, and it's only when we like stop and sort of step back and review things, like really similar to like the stuff we've done with business. Yeah. Like when you're in the mix every day, you don't see things, but when you stop and review it, like, oh, actually, yeah. And then so that's what I really work on with people, just those small changes, but saying to them like, you can choose to go and have a 3-course meal or a glass of wine, but it's the frequency, and considering like, is that choice actually a real treat, or is it something that's actually stopping you from achieving your goals, and which would be the bigger treat in the long run?
Mm-hmm. Yes. And that they can choose either one, right? It's totally up to them. But if they're saying they want this and doing this, then there needs to be a conversation as to if they actually want the certain thing.
Yeah. So just helping people kind of align things a little better for them, because that's exactly it. Like what you just said, they want this, but they're doing this. And it's like, okay, how do we shorten that gap so you're moving forward, for sure?
So let's talk about the structure of your business, because I always think it's fascinating to see different ways that people achieve the same goal. And I always joke, like, there's hundreds of ways you can run any one business, but we want to make sure it's something that actually fits for you. And I know when we first connected and having you come into the collective, it was more of your one-on-one. So tell us the way that's structured currently.
Yeah, sure. So my one-on-one, like when we first started working together, that was my big and only offering. And I generally work with people. Everybody follows the same process in terms of the same system. They log a food diary, it gets reviewed, but the journey is completely bespoke for everybody. So I don't have a set, like week 1 we do this, week 2 we do this, week 3 we do this. It's completely individualized. So people keep a food diary, and even that in itself is, there's different formats. So some people will just keep a diary so I can see what they eat, but they don't, they don't weigh their food, they don't go down into the macro level. Some people want to take it to that stage, and are very, very specific about what they do. And we look at like protein and recovery. So the sports nutrition still comes back in, for some people. And they basically have like what would be a face-to-face nutrition consultation, but done via online software with a written submission from them and a video reply from me. And then we go backwards and forwards on whatever we need to that week until we set like a task or a goal or just encouragement, whatever that person needs. And then that repeats weekly until they reach their goals.
Yes. And every week it's you, correct? So there's no team, there's no other coaches and things like that. It is, you are the person that is reviewing everything, giving that direct feedback.
Yeah, it's just me right now. I have considered in the future maybe taking on other coaches, but I think for me, at where I am right now and the things that we're working on together in terms of growing the business in different directions,
Yep.
I'd like to keep it just me.
Yes. And this is the thing that I love, because you get to make those choices just like your clients do. It's like, maybe not now, maybe not ever. Here's where I feel good. And I know when we first started talking, I believe you had like 60 clients, as far as like working through, which is a heavy client load, and it was taking a lot of time, which then started going into more scalable offers. So creating a program, allowing people to get access to, just like you said, the system or the framework that you have is okay, us sitting down and going through each of those pieces and saying, oh, you have everything here. We just need to do it in a different format so it can be more of a one-to-many.
Yes. Yeah. And that's really what we've been working on. And that led to the launch of the Shred program, which has been brilliant. Really enjoying that. And it's a different element for me. And it's interesting to think it's actually the first time I've done something new in a long time. So that's been having its challenges as well, which have all been, really interesting points to learn from. And just reducing that number of one-to-one clients, and then therefore having more time to do the group stuff, which is ultimately leading to more freedom, which is obviously the name of the game.
Yes. So speaking of that, tell us, what is your definition of freedom-driven success?
Yeah. So I suppose I knew I wanted to be self-employed. I wanted to get out of that 9-to-5 structure where I had to be on other people's times. And I think up until we started working together, I had kind of created my own opposite of freedom-driven success. I had put myself back into that very heavy workload of 9-to-5, Monday to Friday. And I say that with a pinch of salt because it was probably more like 9-to-8 some days. And that's what really attracted me to your services when I connected with you online, because it was about that, getting back control of your time and adjusting the business to make it work for me. And that's, I suppose, what my definition of freedom-driven success is: the success and the joy of all of the stuff and the people you get to help, but driven from a place where it works for me as well as much as it works for everybody else.
Yes. And I would love to hear, what are some of the big steps for you that you had to take in order to lean into that definition? So I know there's been a lot of shifting throughout this year of taking those steps. So can you talk about some of them?
Yeah, sure. So I think a big thing was having to value myself and my time. So instead of taking, realizing for me that actually taking on lots of clients at a lower rate meant that those people were not getting, like, as they weren't getting the best of me. And so the first big thing that we worked on together was increasing my prices, which was terrifying. But actually now I really see the benefit of doing that, in terms of I have fewer clients, but the quality of the service is something that makes me feel really proud, and it's much more satisfying. So even though it was something I was really worried about, it's actually kind of similar to excuse me, to boundary setting, whereas I hadn't ever realized in the past that actually setting the boundaries was positive for other people as well as myself, because then everybody knows where they stand, instead of me doing things that I then resent because I didn't set the boundary. So I suppose those two things have been big for me, but also just a massive dose of believing in myself for being able to move on and do something different. I think I'd almost become a bit, so I'd moved from the kind of the food diary meal plan system in the beginning, in the very early days, and I shifted to coaching online, mostly online, in around 2018. And I really hadn't changed anything in the business since then. I'd changed the systems and I'd done courses and I'd developed the service, but my day-to-day hadn't really changed. And so it was a big leap of faith to think, can I do a course? Will anyone want to learn it? But that's what I loved about the way that we'd set it up with the pre-sale, because then I felt completely confident that, yeah, this is what people want. So that was a big shift for me as well.
Yes, I'll always go back and remember the Voxer message that one day.
Oh God.
So just so you guys know, I read her course outline when she first had it, and like her worksheets and stuff like that. And I was reading through it and I was like, if she ever doubts herself again.
Oh, that Voxer message. That's okay. I thought it was going to be one of mine.
I was like, look, don't take this the wrong way, but if you ever question your abilities, I'm going to punch you in the face across the ocean.
Yeah.
So good. So good.
Best Voxer ever.
And this is the thing, like sometimes you don't know until you get into it. And so much of this is all second nature to you. It's what you've been doing. So really just honoring you too, because being able to take that expertise, package it in a different way for yourself, but also to lean into, like, setting boundaries is not easy. Like that is one of those things where it brings up a lot of stuff for you. But between that, pricing increases, these are all ways to step into your definition of freedom driven success, which also leads into now, what are you challenging yourself with in order to lean into that even further going through the next few months?
Yeah, so further challenges, the going into that launch strategy, which is something I've never done before. So everything I've done to date has just been kind of put it out there and hope for the best. So I'm really looking forward to like formalizing that process and learning that, and just seeing how different it is when it's a process with tracked numbers and data, and I love all that stuff. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then I think it's continuing to push myself to grow. So with the technology, looking into the more evergreen side of things, and just it's really, really inspired me to know that I can do new things with the business, and that I'm not just going to be one-to-one coaching from now until the end of time, which is really exciting, because to bring it back to that freedom driven success, obviously one-to-one coaching is finite in terms of time. And I just, like, I started in this business mainly because, like, I have a real passion for problem solving. And I think I've been like that since I was a kid. And I feel that nutrition is a way that I can help people and help them solve their problems. And I get real satisfaction from that. And the thought that the more courses I do and the more time that I have, I can go into other things and help more people, which is only going to make me infinitely happier.
Yes, I love that so much. And I hope that for those watching or listening, really hear the reality of this is that it wasn't come in right away and everything's going evergreen or this. It's wait, I have to do some other like tweaks and adjustments and creation and lean into each phase of that and what it feels like. And then it starts opening new doors of like, oh, I can lean into my definition further. I can see, oh, maybe this gives me an option for here and it gives me an option for here down the road. So it allows you to do that. So going into from let's adjust the one-on-one offer first. It doesn't mean you have to get rid of one-on-one. If you love it, you love it, but
Yeah.
making some adjustments so it feels good. But then it goes into, okay, let's pre-sell. Okay, we have the course, deliver. Now let's go into the bigger launch. Then you can evergreen and you get to decide what that journey looks like as long as you link it to your definition. So every time we're checking, hey, did the definition change? No? Okay, cool. We're still
Yeah.
going. And because it's going to that and what other people are doing in their business now becomes irrelevant, you know? So with that, I would love if you could share where people can find you on the internet, your website, all of the goods.
Sure. Okay. So you can find me at my website, which is nextlevelnutrition.me. So that's ME. Or you can find me on Instagram, which is my favorite place to hang out. That's Next Level Nutrition Ltd, so short for limited. Or you can find me on Facebook, which is Next Level Nutrition IOM, which is short for Isle of Man, which is where I live. And that's really all the places I hang out online.
Yes, so I'm going to link them in the caption, comment, whatever is appropriate for this video.
Thank you.
So that you can go ahead and follow her in all of the places that you like to hang out. Like I said, I have seen behind the scenes of her stuff, and this industry is the one I'm the most, I never shy away from them. I'm the most particular about. And I saw her stuff and was like, excuse me, this has got to get out there. So definitely go check it out, get into her world. She is absolutely incredible. And Angela, thank you so much for sharing with us and being here today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on. I've really enjoyed it.